to set this up, this is coming from the Daily Mail, talking about the White House National Security Chief says UFOs are having an impact on our training ranges and need to be treated as a legitimate issue. And this is John Kirby, Admiral John Kirby, who you see him a lot in like the White House briefing room. I don't know why exactly. He's a retired Admiral John Kirby. I don't know if he just works for the White House.
Some sort of press staffer, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering, because they use him a lot. I've seen him in the White House a lot.
Yeah, those large, oversized eyes.
You know, it talks about in setting this video up, and I apologize in advance because before I pulled this up, ad block. I had to turn ad block off, so there's just ads everywhere. I mean, like, it's disgusting. There's like 15 ads on this page. Apparently back, does it say when? It doesn't say when, but he's dismissed this UFO thing before. Somebody asked him something about the shooting down of UFOs, and he said, "I love E.T. the movie," was his quote. Like, yeah, okay. He did not want to talk about it. But here he is talking about how it's this legitimate issue all of a sudden. And it's in reference to another question, and he does seem to be kind of brushing off the answer, and then goes into this little diatribe about how it's a legitimate issue for training, and it's weird the way he says it. Let me look up a little bit about John Kirby, where I pull this up here. Anyway, so here's Admiral John Kirby. Here's his wiki. We're all kind of digesting this at the same time here.
Yeah, what's of note? What am I?
Well, I'm wondering, you know, what's he doing currently? He's an incumbent, assumed office. He's the Pentagon press secretary? Oh no, he was the Pentagon press secretary.
Let's see. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications.
That's his title now?
That's his title currently, yeah.
I thought he used to work for CNN too for a little while.
That would make sense. Usually guys like this end up, yeah. They end up like advisors.
It was on a different page. It said he worked there from like 2017 to 2019 or something.
Okay.
He had just pulled it up a second. Oh, right there. Diplomatic analyst for CNN from 2017 to 2021.
So I mean, no surprise there. There's usually a revolving door between these kind of roles and
absolutely.
like pundit roles on major news networks.
Well, he was just an analyst. I don't think he was even necessarily a pundit from what I'm saying. I think he just told them what to say, you know what I mean?
Analyst. They put them on and they back up their narrative, beat the war drums or whatever his job is to do. But yeah, National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications. Sounds like a NSA press secretary? I don't know. Basically,
National Security Council? What's that? Because that's not the NSA. Click on that link. Let's dive a little deeper into that.
Because, well, first of all, of note here is this Pentagon press secretary is what he was up until 2020.
Oh, hello, George. Hi.
Did the dog just go psycho?
Yes. Are you excited?
George.
Are you excited?
Okay, so here's the National Security Council. Principal forum used for the United States President. It sounds like a cabinet position or something.
Absolutely is.
United States Homeland Security and Safety Council. Like an interagency.
It's like a Homeland Defense, what it seems. Like an inter-existence.
Alright, well, let's watch the video.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Yes,
there's going to be a House Oversight Committee hearing at the end of this month. Senator Schumer has put forth an amendment to the NDAA that is modeled after the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act. What level of transparency does the Biden administration believe that the American public deserves and should have as it relates to UAPs?
Well, without speaking to proposed legislation, I won't do that. As you know, the Pentagon has...
Now, is the proposed legislation
to help
talking about? We just lost some.
Yeah.
Is the proposed legislation he's talking about the disclosure bill? Is that what he's referencing there? Is he trying to avoid discussing the language that is particularly in that bill when he's answering that question? Because it's kind of what he sounds like he's getting there.
I honestly don't know.
An entire
you guys got sound?
An amendment to the NDAA that is modeled after the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act.
After the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act. Precedent right there. Boom.
And should have as it relates to UAPs?
Well, without speaking to proposed legislation, I won't do that. As you know, the Pentagon has stood up an entire organization to help collate.
I think that organization he's
reporting
referencing
and analysis of sightings of UAP across the military.
I think that organization he's referencing is the Office of All Domain Anomaly Resolution, or the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which was a
security concerns.
This used to get laughed at for quite some time.
I gave up and went with the lower quality, by the way. All right, I don't know. Let's just watch the whole thing again here.
Phenomenon.
Hold your questions.
There's going to be a House Oversight Committee hearing at the end of this month. Senator Schumer has put forth an amendment to the NDAA that is modeled after the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act. What level of transparency does the Biden administration believe that the American public deserves and should have as it relates to UAPs?
Well, without speaking to proposed legislation, I won't do that. As you know, the Pentagon has stood up an entire organization to help collate and coordinate the reporting and analysis of sightings of UAP across the military. Before that, there wasn't really a coordinated, integrated effort to do that. And of course, we will always want to be as transparent with members of Congress and with the American people as we can, considering national security concerns.
This used to get laughed at for quite some time, for years and a
What
decade.
gets laughed at?
The idea of Congress taking this up. I mean, Gerald Ford talked about this as a
But you laughed at it.
Here we are. What is that? 60 years later, give or take.
I love E.T. the movie.
Is this a legitimate issue? Does the administration believe that getting to the bottom of these sightings in the air, is it a real concern? Is it a real legitimate issue as you see it?
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't stood up an organization at the Pentagon to analyze and try to collect and coordinate the way these sightings are reported if we didn't take it seriously. Of course we do. I mean, some of these phenomena we know have already had an impact on our training ranges. For when pilots are out trying to do training in the air and they see these things, they're not sure what they are, and it can have an impact on their ability to perfect their skills. So it already had an impact here, and we just want to better understand it. Now, we're not saying what they are or what they're not. We're saying that there's something our pilots are seeing. We're saying it has had an effect on some of our training operations, and so we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to understand it better. So, yes.
First, I would say that the president never holds back in raising.
Yeah, I mean that's the video.
I mean that tells me there's something going on, man.
They know more than they're saying.
They know a lot more than they're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. He definitely seems to be blowing off the question initially, and then he blows off the idea that he has ever blown off the idea. Which, there's a lot of blowing off happening here.
That seems that whole, like, what do you mean we've looked at this like it's crazy? We've never done that. Seems to be a common thread amongst when you see White House staffers particularly talking about things like this. At least in modern times. When I say modern, I mean like within the last 10 or 20 years. Not back in Roswell days, but that seems to be a common thread of sentiment throughout.
Just a dismissive attitude?
Huh?
The dismissive attitude? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what they're known for, right? Hence, all these UAP hearings and stuff being up there. Now, I posted this to most of the Dark Dial socials because I thought it was interesting. And I think I put the headline on it something like disclosure or distraction. Like, what are the odds that this is all just a big distraction because something's happening in Ukraine or something's happening with Hunter Biden or something's happening with the Trump indictment or something's happening in the world of power and it's a smokescreen?
Absolutely a thought to consider. Go ahead.
No, I feel like that happens a lot.
Human rights
We try to
issues,
blind our eyes
the
to like what's
detainment
really
of,
happening.
Activists.
In 100% you see that. What happened when the something that went down, it became massive news cycle headlines, Hunter Biden cases. Distraction play, unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
That's right. But what are aliens a distraction from? What is that far and above aliens that you can have those be a distraction from it? That's a lot for me right there, man, to think about, because aliens are worldview shattering. You would have massive swaths of people like offing themselves immediately if disclosure actually happened.
I don't think that's true, man. I gotta disagree.
War of the Worlds, they ran that.
Yeah, I got it on CD right behind you in one of the bins.
People were killing themselves when they ran that, and you have to think about religions. There's a lot of religions out there that the cognitive dissonance that would come from not being the only life in the universe under that religion's tenets, that's a lot to comprehend, that your entire belief system is irreconcilable with the actual physical realities of the universe.
I think the idea has been played about with so much that it doesn't matter. I think, you know, I think you'd be more likely to have people trying to spread Jesus to aliens than you would have people breaking down because aliens are incompatible with Jesus.
Do you think the reason that the idea has been spread around so much, and we've had in the past 30 years or so been inundated, I mean, honestly, longer than that, you can think back to the eras of black and white movies, Body Snatchers, for instance. I mean, we've had extraterrestrials in the media for
everybody
all
knows
modern media, and are extraterrestrials not necessarily a modern creation almost?
I think they've been around forever. Like, there's paintings with, you know, UFOs on them. There's, I don't know, there's just too much in history that shows that I don't think we're the only ones here.
Do you mean here as in the planet, or do you mean here as in, like, the universe?
Both.
Both. Okay, I like where you're going.
Yeah.
I think they are here and here.
I think they could be here without us even having any indication of it.
Right.
You know, I'm a big fan of the nature preserve theory that Earth's basically just, you know, we're still cooking. You know, abductions are the same thing as tagging birds with, like, identifying bands or trackers. That we're a nature conservancy, and they're letting us cook for a little while. Maybe, and again, it depends if there's different species. We could go all deep into that.
Have you ever seen Crowley, the demon that he supposedly conversed with, the demon Lamb?
Oh God!
Have you ever seen the drawing that he made of it?
No.
Look up the drawing that he made of it.
Pull it up.
And then look up like a standard gray alien, because there's some interesting correlations between the two that really makes you think about things you hear in religious texts. So Crowley, for those who don't know, is one of the most famous esotericists, occultists. There's a few different
Satanists.
He was a Satanist, yeah. Theistic Satanism, I believe, not LaVeyan Satanism, which was Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
That's a completely
You know what's
different...
crazy is last night we watched a movie called The Devil's Reign.
Jacqueline
and I.
Okay.
It was weird.
It was interesting.
LaVey's in it. What's his name?
LaVey.
Anton LaVey.
You know, I find LaVey
He's
interesting.
in the movie.
I find LaVey more interesting than I do Crowley in a way as a person. I think Crowley's like occultism is more interesting. I think LaVey's a funky guy though.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it does look like an alien.
I mean, it's very similar to a contemporary gray alien, bar the eyes being smaller.
You're gonna go full Alex Jones and be like, the DMT interdimensional demons.
Look, all I'm saying is Lovecraft wrote a story about the corner folk.
Lovecraft wrote a story about literally everything.
Yeah. And something in there has to be some truth, right?
Yeah, a million monkeys and a million typewriters.
And I've got your social. That's all I need.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, this is like interesting religious alien occultism. Like, are you seeing aliens? Are you seeing prototypical demons? Are you interacting with, you know, multi-dimensional Gnostic beings? Like, what do you have going on here? What is actually at play are we talking about?
Well, like, I joke about it, but it's kind of true. People talking about common experiences with dimethyltryptamine entities or psychedelic entities that, you know, on trips, they all seem to encounter some sort of other intelligence entity that is aware of their presence, as well as potentially presences of others who have either been on those compounds in the past or maybe the future. And a lot of people do say they're aliens or some sort of intelligence, but like Carl Jung has a book. I have a book of Carl Jung's about his theories on UFOs, and that the basic, if I remember it correctly, it's basically there's some sort of archetypal intrusion into our world from our own minds.
Interesting.
They're a projection from an archetype, and you know, I think he would say the same thing of DMT or how when did he talk to this freaking alien thing?
I am not 100% sure. It was at some point during his life he summoned it to speak to it.
Well, in any case, it's a, you know, transcension. You're in this modality of transcension, and you have this possibility of coming up against these entities. Are they really real, or are they fragments of your own
subconscious
mind? Yeah.
You know, that's an interesting one, and we could, and I don't know if it's pertinent if I want to dive too deep into this rabbit hole right now. We could talk about panpsychism and, you know, consciousness begetting matter, and, you know, the tune in. You know, you might be a receptor for consciousness more than you are actually conscious yourself, and that when you are able to change the frequency that your consciousness is receiving, you might be opened up to experiences that are beyond the normal sensory gateway.
Right, yeah, your radio dial expands out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and there's even something to be said for that, and it's not necessarily that it's an entity communicating with you, but it might just be you noticing some intelligence in the design of it. You know, the nebulous it, you know?
No, I don't know. Can you elaborate on that?
No, that's why it's called the nebulous it. It's nebulous.
Is this like Taoism, like
the Godhead, you know? Like I don't know how to reference it without I don't know how to reference the idea of a Godhead without referencing necessarily a Godhead and making things charged with New Age nonsense.
We'll have to do like another episode on this, because yeah, we could go deep into panpsychism and this kind of stuff, and honestly we're probably going to touch on it all the time.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know what you mean by the nebulous it. To me, when you say you can't describe it, I think of like Taoism, like the Tao that can be named is not the real Tao, world of things, world of ideas.
Yeah, then that's kind of world of forms, world of ideas. That's kind of where it's heading. Yeah, there's an it that's it, and it's it. Nothing else is it, but it is it. That's the nebulous it.
Yeah.